Next thing on the list is the elevator actuator shackle. So that's this piece right here. So this facilitates the elevator control and allows the yoke to turn. All right. So we just want to make sure that everything's tight on there. It might have to put some 3-in-1 oil or something in there. It's got a little bit of play in it. And any little bit of play in these will translate to even more play between here and here when they're moved back and forth. Switch to widescreen here and check out what I mean. So as you can see, there's very, very little play between the two of them. It's probably maybe a 1/16 of an inch. I would say that's definitely acceptable. The play on the roll is more like, geez, about 1/4 inch play maybe. But as you can see back here, that's caused from that little bit. I don't know if you can see it. I'm going to zoom in here. So you'll see that one bearing there on the side moving just a little bit. See it going up and down right there? That's what causes that play. So changing these from slip style cage bearings to a linear rotary ball bearing would eliminate any of that play that I have there. It's actually really acceptable. I'm just barely moving it over here and it's moving. So that looks good. Let's check the shackle on the co-pilot side here. These shackles are made out of our PVC pipe clamp, and then right here is a computer expansion slot cover. And I just cut the top of it off there, drilled another hole in the bottom. There might have already actually been a hole down there, and bolted it to this. Those white things there, that's just a piece of a PVC tee, and I cut the ends of it off, drilled a few holes in there, and mounted them to there to hold that in place. So I'm going to check those out real quick, make sure that those are tight. We already checked this one out earlier because that screw had fallen out. Those are nice and tight. That looks good. Back to the pilot side here. This one's way easier to see. So there's the clamp. It's just a 1-inch PVC pipe clamp, and I packed it with Vaseline. Generally speaking, Vaseline has been the best so far. Any kind of petroleum jelly for lubricating between PVC and metal. So I found that to work really good. I've tried all kinds of different lubricants. I'm going to check these. It looks good. Check the hardware up here. So it's got a little bit of play there, but that's okay. That doesn't affect it. It's back and forth that we really have to worry about. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and oil those up while I'm here. I'll go ahead and do this co-pilot side here. So the next item is the elevator control arm. So we're going to look. Elevator control arm. Make sure that it's secured tightly. That looks good. Check it on the co-pilot side here. That looks good. This is just a piece of aluminum that I bent, and I cut a little notch on this conduit. This is just regular steel conduit, and put a hole through it, put a 1/4-20 screw through there, and then these are from lock hasps for like a padlock. And originally I had it so that this slid back and forth and it would slide up and down in here, but it actually caused a lot of issues. So I went ahead and just put a 1/4-20 in the top there and anchored it down really tight there, and this idea works much, much better. So that's for both sides there, and everything seems tight. I'm going to go ahead and check the control rod itself and the bearings. So the bearings are just the couplers that would belong to this, and I took a file and filed off the little ridge down in there, and then these can come off, and I can apply oil down inside of there. Sorry, it's a little blurry. They don't have to be tight. You don't want them tight. You just want to keep the dust out of it. And now we'll go ahead and do the same thing for the co-pilot side. Just remove these little screws here. Alright, next thing we need to check is the bearing, just to make sure it's not moving around. This is just a 1-inch pipe clamp. Screwed to a piece of wood, the wood screwed to the dash platform here, and it's nice and tight. Over here at this side, see if it moves at all. Nope. Yeah, that's nice and tight. Looks good. Next thing we're going to look at is the potentiometer for the elevator control. And there's just a conduit clamp that's not, it actually can move. So this can be adjusted so that you can adjust your elevator control. Similar to the little elevator control fine-tuning adjustment that you'll see on the CH yoke on the front of it. So it does the same job. And we're just looking at here, looking to make sure that's nice and tight, because sometimes that wants to walk out like that. So, and I'm going to actuate this and see. Alright, that looks good. So we're going to check the main yoke bearings and risers. This is the main yoke assembly. These are the bearings on the risers. It seems tight. It seems tight. So that looks good. Make sure that they're moving nice and easy. Just basically holds it straight. And once again, I used petroleum jelly for the lubrication on that. And so we need to look at the return springs. They look pretty good. They're a little noisy because of what I decided to do here. I could find a better solution, a much better solution, but I'm not really worried about it because once the engine starts going, it's really loud and you can't hear these doing their musical instrument sounds. But until then, you can pretend you're listening to a banjo. Look at the spring towers. Those are nice and tight. Everything looks good there. We're going to look at the throttle, prop, and mixture. And immediately, I see that the nut is gone off of the throttle control cable. This is basically just a friction retainer. So squeeze it to put this in there and then expand it to lock it in place. And it holds really nicely. So I actually can't believe that after all that it's, see, that's full forward or full backwards. Alright, so I'm going to have to get maybe I don't know if a nylock will fit on that. I might have to use actually I think that's a M4. So down on the floor somewhere is the nut that goes to it. Let's see if I can find it. Okay, got that put back on. As you can see, it's now all the way. So that's going to help. I'm going to check out these mounting brackets here. So I just cut this whole piece off the top of the CH yoke. It contains 3 potentiometers, one for the throttle, one for the mixture, and one for the prop. Since this isn't a variable prop, I don't have to use that one, so it's just hanging there in the middle. The control board for it is actually mounted to it, so I just need to make sure that this control board, which we'll check this out real quick, looks like that's loose, so I'm going to have to fix that. Alright, so I came over here, and it's just a piece of plumber's strap that holds the control board. And I just stuck the control board inside of a multi-tool blade box that I'd already done used up. And tried to make some strain reliefs there, but Didn't seem like it really worked all that great. But, so now that's fixed and that's nice and tight. And while we're over here, we'll check out the mixture control. And that one's mounted a little differently, but it seems like there might be something wrong there. So the only way to get to that is to crawl under the dash to check that out. Okay, so here we are under the dash. I'm looking at it, and looks like that's got a nylock on it. Maybe I did use 1024s. So that looks like it could be tightened up a little bit because it's kind of loose there. Alright, so that's better. Works nice. And the last thing that we want to check here is the potentiometer wiring and the connections here, just to make sure that they're still okay, that they're not moving around too much and coming unhooked. So that looks pretty good. Okay, and then the last thing is lubrication points right here, right here, right here, and right here. And then do the springs and the spring towers there so that they're not squeaking or anything like that.